right, and Sonder, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's a real pleasure. First things first.
Thank you for having us.
There are three of you. We'll take it in turns. Basically, go around the room as if we are sitting at a table and not just on the screens. How are you doing today?
I'll let Fletch start with that one. Go ahead, Fletch. How are you doing today?
I'm still recovering. Long day of work.
Okay.
So I work in IT, so I've had a day staring at the computer, so I was just having a nice chill out prior to starting this. Apart from that, all good though, thank you.
Yeah. We're good. We've actually had a day off, which is is few and far between, but it has been a busy one. But like productive day. Yeah, good. Getting stuff done. Yeah.
Productive as in personal life, or productive as in band related stuff?
Personal life, all the boring stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Well, what about 2023? We're in February already. How has it been treating InSonder in general so far? Has the year started off strongly for you, do you feel?
Yeah, I think InSonder in particular, it's definitely an aspect of our life that's done well in 2023 so far.
It's a highlight, definitely a highlight.
Definitely,
I think we're all really pleased with the direction we're going, and I think as we were discussing amongst ourselves yesterday, we feel very kind of energized.
Okay.
With what's going on, the new music, the direction we're going in, and it's kind of very uplifting and certainly a positive influence in all of our lives, which is nice because there's no shortage of other challenges.
Yeah.
Do you feel encouraged by the fact that as we are in 2023, things slowly seem to be returning to something resembling a norm? And obviously I am referencing the last few years, particularly in the music scene, and grinding halt and difficulties that exist from touring to venues closing down, particularly in the UK as well.
Yeah. It is doing a lot better. And obviously for a while, because we weren't together a huge amount throughout the pandemic, as it was becoming the big problem worldwide as it did. But what that kind of did was, I feel like it made the music scene very scary, because you couldn't go to gigs anymore, and it's just how are all these musicians going to keep up paying their bills and all that. But it also made people develop more ways, obviously Twitch streaming and stuff like that, and there were a lot of other ways for people to get content out there.
I think from a creative point of view as well, and as I think all three of us in particular, we're avid sort of gig goers. We like to go out and watch gigs ourselves, and me personally, it gives you a lot of inspiration to see what other bands are doing, and it gives you that sort of motivation, I suppose. And when you haven't got that, I think you definitely find that a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
So it's been good to go back to gigs and get back to some normality on that front.
Yeah.
I do feel on the plus side though, I think it's obviously been a rotten time for everyone, but we have made the best of it. I mean, certainly for me, with both InSonder and my other musical projects, I've really focused on kind of how can I be creative when I'm not seeing people. So I've kind of got
I think we do more stuff than a lot I think we do more stuff than a lot of other bands do remotely as well, as you just said, because we're all very busy, life gets in the way a lot of the time as well. It's just can you work on this in the meantime? And then we'll just bounce each other ideas, sending it to file sharing websites and stuff, and then we'll just work on
we're
stuff
so much
together.
more productive for having learned that kind of skill set, and I think we make good use of tools like Discord, so we have threads for each of the songs, bounce the ideas around, get feedback. That kind of stuff works really well.
Pinning important messages on Discord, very helpful.
Yes,
it's great that you're able to do that, because that is an area that a lot of bands struggle with, particularly the wealth and availability of all these different services that you can use to promote, push your band. It can be not only incredibly overwhelming, it can be very difficult to navigate as algorithms change and demand change and so on. So the fact that you're able to do anything, particularly bring up Discord, you might be the first interview I've done in years that anyone has ever mentioned using Discord. So I mean,
that surprises me actually, because there's quite a few.
We just have all our ideas there.
Yeah, because we used to do everything on Messenger and just send ideas, but then when Fletch or me in particular get on a brainwave, we just do message and message and message and message, and then whatever we sent originally gets lost in the text. And so like we brought up an idea of Discord, and we've got different channels for you to go, right, okay, here's a big idea dump channel, and here's where you work on the songs that we're working on now channel, and it becomes a lot more organized so we can actually see what we're doing and what we're progressing on.
Yeah, that works really well. I mean, I'm very prone to writing essays, as we all well know, and I think Tom is probably the most prone of us all to just go, too long, what? Give me a summary.
Yeah, that's Tom's trick, that is, isn't it? He's not here with us today, but he always does the too long, didn't read.
Yeah.
If you're another artist or band listening to what you're saying right now, get a Discord where you summed it up is a really, really useful tool. But tell me about who and what SFNDER is. Particularly, I want to understand what your vision for the band is.
So we have quite a long band history. All of us were in the same previous band, Curse of Dawn, which had a lot less of an identity, I feel. But when we came back together as SFNDER, and like it had been about 5 years, I think, and it just kind of like came together, and the style of sound, I think like a lot of our egos had softened in that kind of time. So we were a lot more prone to just like, well, what do we all think would sound good? And then we were just like, the aesthetic and everything just kind of came together.
I think it was a case of we all sort of liked the same sound at the same time that we were creating. So it just sort of came together that way, didn't it?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, quite naturally, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all like, I mean, I think, musically, we all like the same things very much anyway, in the Curse of Dawn days.
Thing, don't we? We all add a little bit of something different.
Yeah.
But it works together, I think.
Yeah.
But I think it was just interesting in that in the Curse of Dawn days, it seemed to be this interesting mismatch of folk metal, melodic metal, some symphonic elements and stuff. Whereas now it's just we all love electronics, and that just naturally seems to be the direction it's gone in.
It's not that we don't like all the other stuff. It's just I think in the Curse of Dawn days we try to jam everything into one project.
Possibly,
and you've got Disconnected Souls as another outlet, and I've got Fight the Tornado, or we've got Fight the Tornado as another outlet. And because we've got those other outlets, just doing the one genre of music doesn't seem quite as I wouldn't say boring, but it holds our attention more now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're kind of placing yourself in the genre of cyber metal, which is how you kind of being tagged. Explain that to me if you can.
So here we go. We didn't really know. We've still got elements of progressive metal, like in the section of Quintessence where it has a bit of a swing section. It's like da, 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 and it's just it was really hard to sort of place.
We are still a mixed match of genres, but I think it's just more cohesive.
Yeah, definitely.
I think cyber metal came about because we were just wanting to experiment with all these EDM electronic sort of elements as well. So I think that was just the sort of natural
and
name we ended up
I think there was we came together one day after we'd made Quintessence, and we're just like, what genre are we?
Okay, yes.
And then we were just we were searching up some stuff, and I think we found some bands that were listed as cyber metal, and a couple of the bands on the list we were just like, right, okay, so they're probably the closest thing that we can sort of where 3 or more of the bands on that list kind of sounded like us. So we were like, it's quite an obscure sounding genre, but I think it was the closest thing we could find to put on what Quintessence and our music going forward will sound like.
I can't remember, did we come up with cyber metal before or after the photo shoot? Because I think the photo shoot was...
It may well have been after.
No, we wanted cyber... I think the official naming of the genre cyber metal came after the photo shoot, but we did decide that we wanted to go down a sort of EDM inspired route. We just didn't really have a label for that at the time, I don't think.
Yeah, whether you want to or not, you kind of have to label it just for the ease of people understanding, and it just certainly stands out, particularly as you said, weirdly enough, you bring up the photo shoot, but yeah, when you see attached pictures as well, it does create a bigger image. It makes it quite clear what you might be listening to. You mentioned it a few times, Quintessence. This is out now. How have you found the reaction to it so far?
It's been overwhelmingly positive for a first single out. It's got a lot more traction than I actually expected it to get for our first single from like a first name project. First release. And like, especially on like the video views and Spotify streams and stuff like that, they're numbers that I wasn't expecting to get from a first single. So I mean, a lot of that we can put down to Holly, who is our PR manager at the minute, and she is just amazing.
She's amazing.
She's amazing. she's getting us all sorts of goodies all over the place.
That's been good. But no, anyone we talk to has nothing but nice things to say about it, really.
Yeah, so. I've not heard anyone say it's good, but or anything like that. It's always just been like, oh, it's a killer track.
I think there's a good mixture as well of friends of ours and people who were fans of Curse of Dawn, and also a fair few kind of newer people, and it's that balance which has been very nice. So we're appealing to new audience, but also appealing to people who enjoy the older stuff.
It's not just the one group of people. Like to see Curse of Dawn fans being like, oh yeah, this is amazing, because it sounds nothing like Curse of Dawn.
Completely.
Yeah, it's great.
What was your goal? What was your aim to express with this particular track? Were you quite conscious that you really wanted to say, this is what we are, this is what we sound like, this is what you can expect?
Yeah, we wanted to blow it out the gates, to be totally honest. We were just like, right, okay, look, we're going down this cyber metal kind of route with these cyberpunk themes, and the artwork is going to be reflective of all that as well. So we're jumping like both feet in to the theme, and we're going straight into it. And so I was like, let's do something fast with a heavy pulse pounding thing. Yeah, to kick through the gates, so to speak, to say like, we're here. This is us. This is the sound you're getting, sort of thing. Yeah,
and I think that was something I really tried to support. So, I mean, with our tracks, there's quite a mixture in terms of some we write entirely together, some one of us will start, and then the rest all chip in with. This one, I didn't have so much of the kind of involvement in the early stages, but a lot of my focus with this was, okay, we've got this big, powerful track. Let's just find some big sounds that'll really push it forward. Let's have some driving, trancey stuff. Let's just help, create that kind of momentum in it.
Yeah,
and support that.
Talking about how often we can do things like remotely. Like this was one of them where I created the majority of the structure of the song and was like, I want this really fast-paced thing, and like sort of recorded it roughly and then sent it to Fletch and said, Fletch, put your keys over this. And like he sent it back, was like, how's this? And then like I just listened to the keys and I was like, this is absolutely perfect. You picked killer instruments for this. And so the instrumentation was done fairly quickly, actually. And then me, you, and Tom sat down and wrote all the lyrics, and the vocal lines. And it was.
I think an aspect of the kind of technical side of things is in the old days I tend to kind of play everything by hand, whereas now I do a lot of kind of programming and that, just because I don't feel that need anymore. It's about what works best for the track.
Yeah, we never used to be like that, and I think that's why like a few of us used to butt heads in Curse of Dawn. Like,
it was about showmanship. It was about, I want to do a shreddy keyboard solo, you want to do a shreddy guitar solo, whereas now it's just like
this song doesn't have enough guitar in it. This song doesn't have enough keyboard in it, and now it's just like, well, if that section sounds better without guitar, cool. I won't play in that bit. So it's just like.
I think that shows we've gained a lot of knowledge in most aspects of music as well since the old Curse of Dawn days. Yeah, we've all grown as individuals in lots of aspects.
That's why I was saying earlier about how I think our egos have softened. Now we're just like, oh well, I don't need to be as big a part if the song is better without me having a blazing solo in front of it. You know what I mean?
Completely.
You've mentioned that twice, egos being softened. Can you identify why that is the case? What's changed? What is it? Is it an age?
I think it's experience. It's experience. In the gap between Curse of Dawn and In Sonder, I've released, us two released a solo album under Fight the Tornado, which is another project. And so that was a big learning curve, releasing something myself and then writing stuff with just the two of us and then doing all the arrangement. And obviously Fletch has Disconnected Souls and he's released EPs and singles with them. And so I think just like the more time you spend, like more time we spent away from Curse of Dawn, we kind of just like sort of were like, right, okay, it doesn't all have to be all out there all the time. Yeah.
Like what we wanted to get out of music.
And like I found myself with writing songs in Fight the Tornado. It's kind of like, oh, this song doesn't have any solos and the guitar is very subdued actually. And I was just like, but I really like it and that's okay. And I think so. I just think the experience of not everything has to be 100% like that all the time means like I could sort of like step back a little bit and look at the overall sound rather than just what I'm giving the sound.
I think when we talk about egos, though, it's not like any of us have a super rock star. I'm super important ego. It was more of a we were just passionate.
Yep.
And I think the thing is because we tended to write a lot of the tracks together, it was I hear this direction, I hear this direction. How do we choose between those two ideas? Because to be fair, we could have gone with either option and they'd have both ended up with a good track. It's just when you're passionate about it, it's
like,
challenging.
Well, I really think it'd be better like this, and then someone else would be like, I really think it'd be better like that, and then now it's just like we just try it, and we're just like now it's like, well, let's try it like this, and then let's try it like that, and see what we prefer. And
again, I think the technology comes in here because we've to just pivot to DS for a second. We've had a track recently we're working on where I put a breakdown section in Patrick really didn't like and had an alternative idea. So what we did was we just took a copy of the project, saved it as a new file and removed the other bits. And there it is. It's there to sit in another song.
Yeah, so you got two versions of it to see if like, yeah.
And that's, again, just the technology enabling you to just throw out as many ideas as you want and do that.
Test it in one way and then test it in another, to see what's better.
It can sit there for years potentially until eventually you find a way to use it. You know, it's
oh, absolutely, yeah,
absolutely.
Going back to Quintessence, creativity specifically about this. Where did you draw from to creatively to come up with the idea behind this track?
Yeah, so I think like it was my concept to begin with. It was like I'm a big extroverted soul, so I like spending time with people and going out, and it kind of like I had this sort of feeling where like it's kind of like healing process of like spending time with people, and it felt like I was like sort of not in a bad way, but like sort of feeding off everyone else's energy, and it made me like sort of feel good kind of thing and forget about my problems for a while, just spending time with people. And so it was kind of like being a social vampire of sorts.
It's all my energy that he drains. This is why I'm here wrapped up in my room in a blanket.
That's why he's got a blanket on him. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that was like the initial idea. It's like being a social vampire, draining people's energy. And with that, it was like the sort of party element. And that's why the pacing, I picked up like a really fast, desperate pacing to go with the song.
The opposite of, if you've ever seen it, What We Do in the Shadows TV show, the opposite of Colin Robinson, if you know that reference. I'll take it.
I have been meaning to watch it. I've been told I'd enjoy it, but I just haven't got around to it.
You would, but you'd also get what I mean by that when you do eventually get around to it. So guys, what do you perceive then as the biggest challenge for you right now in getting the name of SFNDER out there? And how do you plan to overcome that challenge?
Oh, I like a double stage question.
Time to spend on social media.
I think time is a big one because we're all busy people. We all have busy personal lives, have our day jobs,
all of us
outside of music.
Yeah, it is worth noting that all of us work full time as well. So it's not always every week that we can get together to like sort of jam things out. So I would probably agree and say time to because like if I had the time, like I would be on social media all the time, just like powering things away. But
I think we try and overcome that best we can though, just by if we all individually do a bit as and when we can, when it comes to getting our name out there, whether it's one of us doing a media post every now and then or something like that, just to keep things going.
Yeah, because like social, I'm gonna be honest and say social media is not super natural with me. And so like sometimes I am not sure, I don't really know what content would be good to post and what wouldn't. So I'm trying to learn better of that from like handling. So I think that definitely getting better at social media and getting consistent, I think, as well, is it's just difficult to post like all the time. I never really know what to say a lot of the time, you know.
But yeah, and keeping things moving and getting music out as much as we can, and just keep going with it, really.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is prioritization, because we've always got more songs than we've got time to work on. There's always
absolutely.
And I think another challenge is figuring out that kind of balance between creation of new music versus gigs and tour versus filming a music video, which is something on the to-do list hopefully this year.
Versus playing the social media algorithms.
Yeah.
Best of luck overcoming that one. As I said already, it's one of the most challenging aspects for any band, even if you're new and you're young and you kind of have a better understanding of not just the likes of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and Spotify, but things like TikTok and so on. Nail that. Bravo.
Yeah.
So in the bigger picture, Quintessence out now, available, a showcase of In Sonder for a chance to people to meet, understand, and get to know you immediately. But where does that sit in relation to the bigger picture right now? E.g., what's going on as we move into 2023? What plans do you have in place?
Well,
so as Flex mentioned, we do have plans to hopefully record more music and music videos. I think is the next one
we have about 5 or 6 songs in the work at the minute that are sort of, I would say, over 50% complete, like especially musically and some lyrically as well. So we're definitely working on an EP and a couple more singles as well, and then we're hoping to work on a music video for later this year as well. So we've got a lot of stuff in the works.
But I think that's our year. Definitely more music, an EP and music videos. So
definitely. As Fletch said, like prioritization as well, like which song to release next. We've got like 5 of them almost finished.
And there's also prioritizing between our respective projects as well, because I know you guys have more Fight the Tornado stuff, and we've certainly got more Disconnected Soul stuff. So again, it's just working out a happy medium between them all.
I think we're getting on terms with that now a little bit though. Like we're getting sort of like structured weeks where like this week Fight the Tornado, that week In Sonder, that week Disconnected Souls, that week In Sonder, and it's just like we're getting into a bit of a rhythm with it now.
I think a similar thing there is as well. We have things in kind of different stages. So while Quintessence was going through its multiple mixes, we had the next one coming along, and then you've got some somewhere you're kind of doing the arranging, more the production side of things, somewhere it's right at the beginning and some in the middle where you might have a chorus and a verse, but where does it go next? I think for me, I like bouncing between different things because they all require different skill sets and different amounts of energy.
It's like if you're in the point where it's just like, right, I really feel like doing this, but then like the task feels really like sort of overwhelming. You're like, well, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to work on this other one. And then like by the time it actually gets the mixing one, we have like 4 or 5 almost complete tracks because we've just been working on a bit at a time, and obviously remotely as well. So like different people in the band have been working on different bits. So like they're gradually progressing, even if we're not together.
Yeah. I mean, some days for me, for example, I might just go through some of the synth libraries and start putting together like sounds that I think would fit with the In Sonder style and that. So it's one of those things you don't really, I guess, think of as a kind of traditional activity for it, but it is very useful.
We do appreciate it though, because you get some good sounds out there.
Absolutely. But I guess with respect to the wider point about having things in different stages, I don't know how bands did it kind of traditionally, where you grouped up 11, 12 songs into an album, and then you went into the studio and you recorded them all. That seems very different and alien to me now.
Yeah, definitely.
So we can confidently say we're going to be hearing a lot about Ensonder over the year.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I would say so. Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys, now we reached the part of the interview where things change a little bit. It's still questions, but we're a bit more snappy, a little bit more quick fire, and they're random. We have a pool of about 500 questions that we literally spin a wheel on and pull 10 out. They can be super, super serious, super nonsensical. So we'll run through 10 of them. And we start with a kind of serious one, which kind of ties into the band overall, which is this. What's a realistic goal in Sonder that you individually would like to achieve over the next 12 months?
I think just releasing a music video would be great.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 10,000 watches on the music video.
Yeah. That's the goal.
That's ambitious, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right then, Big Mac or Whopper? Where do you fall?
Big Mac.
Well, you see,
he's an awful one.
I can't eat gluten, so I would say none.
Neither for me. I'm actually, not really a fan of either. But then I'm a massive burger fanatic in other ways, so I think my taste has just kind of gone beyond them.
You're a burger tool is what we're saying here.
Burger aficionado, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. What's the best gig you personally ever been to?
Or just Nightwish at Wembley.
Right,
Nightwish at Wembley.
Sorry, say that again.
Nightwish at Wembley.
I mean, I would say one of the best I've been to is Tool at Download, when Tool played for the first time in 15 years at Download the other year.
I mean, I've seen so many good bands, but one I always remember is Sabaton in Manchester, and that the reason is that they literally had the floor shaking. It was that crazy. That, and I always remember that for some reason. I mean, there's been loads, hasn't there? But yeah.
I think Winston was also good, because that was one of the few we've all been to together. Winston was great.
Oh, Winston was good, yeah.
There's been so many.
Yeah.
You're in a classic slasher horror movie. What character are you? And by that I mean, are you the traditional labels that get applied to those characters? So are you the jock, the final girl or boy, the nerd, the cheerleader, and so on? What would you think you are?
I would definitely. Are you going first, Fletch? Who are you then?
After you.
Oh, I am definitely the comic relief who dies like second or third. Absolutely.
100% nerd.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to be the final woman alive.
Yeah.
I'd fight to the end.
Yeah, you'd survive. You'd get out alive when the rest of the band dies. Yeah, definitely. That's how it'd work.
I'm smart.
Who would be a dream band for you in Ensonder to play with one day?
Devin Townsend.
That's strong. Spirit Box, Amaranth.
Spirit Box.
All of that, yeah.
For me, it's Devin Townsend. I just think, or North Lane from Australia. They are one that I am massive into at the minute, and our sound would probably suit better with North Lane as well.
I agree. That's a solid choice.
Okay, one of the most controversial subjects out there is how people like their steaks done. So, you have a steak, how do you want it done?
Medium.
Medium rare.
So, I actually haven't had that much steak in my life, and when I have, it's always been well done. So it was only a year or two back, that actually someone took me out and was like, here, try a steak in a different format. And now the world of possibility is open, but I've not had enough since to kind of formulate a decisive opinion on it. So anything goes for me. I think
going to be gunning for Fletch now.
Someone comes to you and asks you to give them just one album that sums up heavy metal, in your opinion. What would you give them?
Probably something like Strapping Young Lad, I think. Because not City, it was the other one. I can see the artwork of the album, but it's one of the albums by Strapping Young Lad. Anyway,
is it the one that's got Skepsis on it?
It's the one that's got Almost Again on it, I think.
I would have to probably go for a Gojira album.
Gojira, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go for Reliable Classic Master of Puppets then.
Yeah, solid choice.
Three incredible bands, 3 incredible albums, of course. For you, what is the best thing about being in Ensonder?
It's
getting to hang out with my best buddies.
Yeah, friends.
I think that's why we enjoy what we do. We have a lot of fun doing what we do, and that's what it's about for us.
And like we're all very creative and got the creative juices, and it's just like getting all of them, the vibe for me. Again, the whole concept of quintessence. Spending time around people and feeding off their energy, and the energy that we all bring to the songwriting process, and just together. And when we accidentally press the wrong button, when we're like messing about with a song and it makes a stupid sound in the middle of it, and then we just cry laughing all through it. Oh yeah, it's just funny. Or Fletch trying to add vocal chops into everything.
It's good. I think we can go from really, really super creative to just doing something downright silly. Like, I mean, there was that practice a few weeks ago where I was just like, right, everyone take it in turns to write a random like bar of trap symbols, and then we'll see what sounds once it's assembled. And it was awful.
I remember that.
But it's turned out to actually be a really good song.
Feed them into the background. No one will notice. Yeah.
And then Lindsay was just like, I hate it. Oh, I now get it. This is all right.
You might persuade me somehow.
That's great, guys. I'm really glad to hear that. Second last one. We're not doing this via Zoom. We've actually met up. We've gone to a bar, and I've decided I'm going to buy you a drink. What am I buying you?
At the minute, you're buying me a Black Russian, because I just really like Kahlua. Kahlua is just my jam at the minute.
Okay.
I'd probably have to go for a gin and lemonade. I'm a bit of a gin drinker myself. So.
Hipster.
Not that I drink a lot of alcohol, but yeah, it'd probably be a gin.
So slight story time, I guess, for me on this one. We always used to go to Wetherspoons, as in when we did our disconnected source practice, we'd always go Wetherspoons after band practice as a cheap and cheerful place. And there was some point where I was just like, I need to try new drinks. Let's try new things. And I used to just kind of randomly pick things off the menu and kind of mix them up with other drinks. And one day I settled on gin and tomato juice, and everyone was like, oh, this is terrible. This is going to be a disaster. And I was like, this is great. And it became my kind of go-to drink ever since. Unfortunately, you can't get tomato juice from Spoons anymore, or at least not a local one, but I sometimes buy it in to replicate it. So I'll take a gin and tomato juice, please.
So I think the world is definitely going to be gunning for Fletch now.
That's, it sounds horrible, but I've never tried it, so it might be wonderful.
No.
When you come play London, I'll come see you. I'll get one there, and I'll get point of showing, and we'll share one then, and then we can decide then.
If you don't like it, you can throw it at us while we play.
There you go. Last but not least, what is a memory that never fails to make you smile?
No.
We're talking about music. When we did Battle of the Bands with Curse of Dawn, that holds a lot of strong memories for me, because it was, playing in front of 100+ people, which we'd never done before, anything like that. So it was a totally new experience, quite scary, but it certainly built me.
And just like,
and I love that.
I know it was certainly like there's a lot of like it was just like local bands, and none of us really knew each other. I lent one of the band's guitars, failed at that Battle of the Bands, and he was just like, does anyone have a guitar for me to lend? And none of the other bands offered, so I gave him mine.
And he was like, what's this 7th string that appears to be on it?
Yeah, it was a 7-string, but I was just like, ignore the top string, and it's basically E standard. And it was but then it was just like,
sums up the music industry, the community.
It's just like,
it was just a proper strong community.
Just being there with local bands. I mean, there were a few like sort of like questionable things at that Battle of the Bands, but like But overall, just like being there with other local bands that are in the same spot, and we came fourth out of like 9. Fourth, wasn't it?
I think there might have been more. I think it might have been more like 12.
We went through like 3 rounds or something, and we got into the final. Yeah, we got into the final with the last 4 bands. Yeah. But yeah, that was a good experience. Just like constantly going and like playing a gig like every few weekends. It was nice. Yeah.
I think another classic memory for me is, and we discuss this one quite regularly, is there was back when we were doing, was it Cursed Dawn or was it the short-lived band that came after, as in Wolfie, when we wrote Wolfie?
Yeah. Twilight Gift or whatever we were going to call it, yeah.
So basically we had this track and it needed a keyboard solo, and I just kept messing up what I was doing with it, and I just decided to I think I'd got like a few notes in, it hadn't gone to plan, and I just started hitting random notes and just finished it off, and it ended up just being this really, really crazy elaborate solo that one could have never kind of predicted in a million years, but it sounds hilariously good. And I don't know how to describe it. It's just an experience of a solo, and one day hopefully we'll share it.
Commas here, because like there's a lot of like sad notes and like yeah, it was just like, it was so funny. Like just listening to it back over the rest of the backing of the track, it was just like we were in tears for like hours over that. It was so funny.
And would we have ever thought that a keyboard solo could be that hilarious? No. But
yeah, I still have the recording of it on my computer. I've still got the WAV file on my OneDrive.
I think you guys have plenty more to make. As you've already described, 2023 looks to be a very, very busy year for you. I hope it is. Expectation is that it will be. But as of right now, Quintessence is available now to listen to get to know in SFNDER. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
All right,
it was a pleasure. It's been great fun. Speak soon.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?